Are we at war?
I've got some bad news to share, and it literally took just one game to uncover.
Intel. He's planning something.
I hope what I show you makes you think twice about buying this game. The matchmaking in Modern Warfare 2, at least for me, was worse than I've ever seen it. That's not good no matter what platform you play on, but this is especially bad for console players. Why? I'll tell you those details here in a bit. What I found is, in my opinion, further evidence that Activision is scamming millions of players. If you were hoping for a genuine game free of manipulation, Modern Warfare 2 does not appear to be for you. Let's get into it.
Y'all got a clear picture?
All set.
These things take planning and preparation.
Thanks for watching the video. I'm Boomer, I'm old and just trying to compete in online shooters. During the MWII beta, I collected data from 30 games to learn how they built their lobbies. I tracked my latency and the enemy's latencies, then compared the two. If you're new here, you might not know why latency or your connection quality is important. I've already covered that topic in 2 other videos, so if you haven't already, you should check them out. Just know your latency is how long it takes when you fire your gun for those bullets to register at the Activision server, and then for that info to be relayed back to your TV or monitor. The less latency, the faster all that happens, and the more gunfights you win, especially in a multiplayer game where the time to kill is less than 250 milliseconds, which is the average human reaction speed. I could go on about patents and algorithms, but just know in Call of Duty, the more you play and the better you become, the worse experience you're given. This is an indictment of the decision makers at Activision Corporate and not the devs at the various studios. Activision built a system that takes advantage of players who hop on regularly. This has been proven multiple times by multiple people. If you played a game a lot, it often dumps you into servers with high latency.
As most of you were probably already aware, this year I teamed up with Xclusive Ace, JGod, and Sour to collect as much skill-based matchmaking data as possible. These are the smartest, most analysis and data-driven people in our community, so we basically got all the big brains on board, and we all tested a lot of things on our accounts. Unfortunately for everybody, we found data indicating that skill-based matchmaking exists, and that it can actually lower your connection quality. This second part is very shocking because I've done 4 skill-based matchmaking tests, and this is the first time it has ever been proven to affect ping.
And I also immediately noticed that with my connection experience as well. My connection on average got a lot worse after that update, and my enemies also suddenly got a lot better. And that's one of the most frustrating things, is it's all hidden in the background anyway, so it feels like you're suddenly playing a different game, but there's no logical explanation for it.
I've linked both Drifter's and Ace's videos in the description. So latency is important in determining if you win gunfights, and it's not just me who says it. I've now tracked hundreds of games across multiplayer and Warzone, and I feel I can definitively say Activision sways your experience by latency. I'd hope that would change with Modern Warfare 2, but it didn't. For this experiment, I tracked latencies across 30 games during the Modern Warfare 2 beta. I'll tell you why what I found is especially bad for console players right after we look at the data. Before I play any match of Call of Duty, I always check the quality of the available servers with the NetDuma gaming router. During the beta, the best servers could have given me a latency of 18 milliseconds. That's really good. Keep that in mind. So here is the study that I performed during the Modern Warfare 2 beta, and it tracked all 30 games that I played in, and I've color-coded it here to make the visual representation of my experience kind of pop off the screen. So if a game is highlighted in dark red, I had a bad experience. I had much higher latency than all the enemies. If the game is colored with pink, then I had the highest latency, but it wasn't necessarily horrible. And if I had a good game, or I was given a good latency in comparison to the enemies, it's highlighted in green. Well, the very first game I found out that they hadn't changed their ways at all. And in fact, it's worse than on average when you compare my previous studies in Warzone. So my first game on, I was given an 80 millisecond ping. If you notice, the enemy closest to me had about half of my ping, and some of these people had 7-8 times less ping or a better connection quality than I had. So as we go down through my experience here, you can see right off the bat what a horrible business decision to give a new player who just bought a game a horrible experience. Here, this player had 8 times the connection quality that I had. Ran into a player with 7 times better connection quality, 6 times, 5 times. Now my experience started to get a little bit better, but still not great. It took 10 games to finally land onto a server where I did not have the highest latency. One player, this poor fool right here, had 161 millisecond ping. So even then, the remaining teammates of his all had lower ping and at least half of my ping. Keep in mind, using the NetDuma, I can see what servers are available to me, so I know if Activision is placing me purposely on bad servers or if they are putting me on good servers. It took them 16 games to finally put me on a good server that gave me 18 millisecond ping. So I did this study over 2 days. You can see again the experience that I was given. Poor experience as indicated by the dark red. Here I was dropped into a server against a player who had 25 times better connection than I did. So we can scroll down here all the way to the end just so you can see all the data that I collected. Here's a player with 15 times better connection and so forth. So we'll quickly look here at the summary page. My average latency over 30 games was 64 millisecond ping. The average enemy's latency was half of that at 30. Here's where it gets interesting. Games in which I had higher latency than all enemies, 80% of games, 24 of 30 games, I had the highest latency. And I'm not a demon player, but I play a lot and I have better than average stats. And I'm sure that plays a part into this algorithm. Games in which I had lower latency than all enemies, 0. So no games was I given that sort of advantage. And then you can see the percentage of games that I had to play and where I had to face enemies that had a markedly better connection quality. The number of games that Activision put me on to the best server, 3%, or just 1 of 30 games. And if you boil all this down, the number of games in which Activision gave me a good experience was just 2 of 30 games, which is 7%. Matchmaking engineers know what they're doing, and they know the importance of latency in your success in their games. It seems they use latency to sway your experience and the experience of the players you face. That's worrisome in and of itself, but the really worrisome part is I know this information that I just showed you because I play on PC. With the PC, you can overlay your latency on screen and also see the latencies of the enemies you're facing. But you can't see the enemy's latencies if you play on console. We know console players make up the vast majority of the Call of Duty player base. Yet it's these players who have no idea about how the game is truly matching them. Sure, you can dig through a settings menu to find your latency, but you won't ever see the latency of the enemies you face. If you're a console player and you play a lot, you might die regularly in gunfights simply because Activision decided to put you on a bad server. It seems a company with Activision's moral past could pull all sorts of tricks by keeping console players in the dark about this, don't you think? I hope if you're considering buying Modern Warfare 2, you consider this factor. I could go on for days and will in the future about some of the dirty tricks that might be in play. If you do buy the game, just remember I warned you. Any fast-paced game that has ridiculously low TTKs that doesn't match players based on similar connection qualities is a scam, in my opinion. If you made it to the end, I really appreciate you watching the video. Until next time, have a great day.
Vamos fuerte los vaqueros, sí señor. Gas al cuidado.